I wanted to continue our discussion about musicals that came from popular works of drama, and I want to start with the play Porgy. Porgy, as written by DuBose and Dorothy Hayward in the mid 1920s, was a Theater Guild production featuring a cast of African Americans, which was a truly different request at the time because African Americans weren't allowed to perform as huge casts on Broadway stages at the time. But it tells the story of Porgy, a disabled black beggar who lives in Charleston and rescues Bess from a drug addict that she loves. Porgy was popular in its day, and it created quite a stir. And George Gershwin takes a an option on the piece. He knows that this is something that would be wonderful as an opera, and he puts it on a back shelf knowing that he'll get to it one day. Well, he continues doing an awful lot of other things when the Depression hits, and DuBose Hayward finally says to him, "Look, George, you're gonna. It's 1931 or 32. Are you ever going to do anything with this? Because I need the money." And Hammerstein and Kern are interested. If you're not, and what he essentially does is then begin a process by going first to the Metropolitan Opera to position the piece. Who says, "Well, we'd love to do it, but we don't do blackface." And if we're going to do, we only do these things in blackface rather, and we're a segregated opera company. And George Gershwin recoils at that and realizes that would be a terrible disservice to the piece. And what he then does is go to the Theater Guild being very interested in it. And George takes 2 years to now complete the opera. The first year, about 11 months to write it, and 9 more months to orchestrate it himself, something that's rarely done by a composer who writes musical theater. Well, it was truly controversial on a number of levels. First of all, in 1935, this type of a musical was just unheard of. No one ever wrote serious musical theater at this point in time. The music critics couldn't figure it out because there was spoken dialogue. The musical theater critics couldn't figure it out because it was almost sung through, and it had a very heavy plot, and it was challenging to the audiences. They just didn't get it. In fact, Porgy and Bess created its own challenges because although it was not initially popular in the 4 or 5 months that it ran, it gained steam because of the music that Porgy and Bess created that was now on the radio. And these stories of music and the fact that Gershwin wrote it did get the musical to tour. And of course, when it got to Washington, D.C., one of the challenges was the National Theater was a segregated performing venue, and they did not want to allow the friends of Todd Duncan, who was Porgy, and Ann Brown, who was Bess, she from Baltimore, he from Washington, to be able to come hear the piece. And they went on strike. They essentially said, if our communities cannot come hear the piece, then we're not going to perform Porgy and Bess. And the National Theater relented. For 2 weeks. It became a segregated performing venue where the black community came in through a side door with a fabric wall down the aisle so that they would not be interfering with the white audiences, much like what would have been done in an Orthodox environment.
Oh, I got plenty of the rain, and dirt is plenty for me. I got no car, I got no mule, I got no misery. show God to me how to keep the devil away. But I'm afraid about hell every time around. It's never very long as I'm well. Everyone is trying to be good to me, but the hell is mine. Oh, I got plenty of loving and good's plenty for me. I got my girl, got my own, I got heaven. There's no use complaining. He got my girl. Got his love. Got his boy. Got my soul.
Porgy and Bess really caught everybody by surprise. I mean, they really didn't know what to make of it, as I had said. And George Gershwin, really, when he died, is when Porgy and Bess suddenly became the major curiosity. Todd Duncan, the original Porgy, who lived here in Washington, had spent a great deal of time really developing the character. He played it continually for the next 10 years. And he realized that it was being changed around him. Ira Gershwin kept changing musical content, adding dialogue to make it more user friendly. But it is till today considered the greatest masterpiece of the American musical theater.
It ain't necessarily so. It ain't necessarily so. The things that you're liable to read in the Bible, it ain't necessarily so. Little David was small, but oh my. Little David was small. And diet, little David was small, but oh my. What do you he lived in the well. He lived in the well. His home in that fish's abdomen. Oh, Jonah, he lived in the well. Little Moses was found in a stream. Moses was found in a stream. That child money so. They tells all you chillin', the devils are villain, but it ain't necessarily so. To get into heaven, don't snap for a 7, live clean, don't have no fault. Look at me, I take that gospel whenever it's possible, but with a grain of salt. Methuselah lived 900 years. But who calls that living with no gallows given to no man? What's 900 years? I'm preaching this sermon to show it ain't Nessa, ain't Nessa, ain't Nessa, ain't Nessa, ain't necessarily so.
Now, of course, these characters were perceived to be somewhat stereotypical, and this was a problem for Anne Brown. Her father was a respected doctor in Baltimore, and he felt she was continuing perceptions of stereotypical black characters, and it upset him tremendously.
Audra McDonald.
So let me just catch you up on this. About 10 years ago, Porgy and Bess was reconstructed. They added dialogue, took out music, shrank it down to make it doable in smaller venues. If you were a purist, you thought this was absolutely a hideous thing to have done to a masterpiece. But on the other hand, it gave Porgy and Bess the ability to be performed in smaller venues more easily.
Donald and co-star Norm Lewis are blowing audiences away in the Broadway revival of Gershwin's Porgy and Bess, and you're about to see why. Performing an excerpt from the duet Bess, You Is My Woman Now, here are Audra McDonald and Norm Lewis.
Bess, you is my woman now. You is. And you must laugh and sing and dance for two instead of one.
There's no wrinkle on my brow, no, 'cause I ain't going. You hear me saying, if you ain't going with you, I'm staying. Porgy is your woman now. Is yours forever. Morning time and evening time and summertime and winter time.
Morning time and evening time, and summertime and winter time. Bess, you got your man. Bess is my woman now and forever. This life is just begun. springtime and evening time and summertime and wintertime. I'm telling you, I keep this vow. Oh, my best we's happy now. We's one now.
The great moments from Porgy and Bess that make it a classic. Meanwhile, Green Grow the Lilacs, a rather mediocre play about people living on the prairie and the hired hand who literally was terrorizing them, was a popular play in the early 1930s. The Theater Guild owned it, and they felt that over time it might have value to be reinvented. And by the time 1940 came along, that certainly was the case. It became Oklahoma, as we all know, and Oklahoma became the big game changer of the day. Rodgers and Hammerstein sat down with the play. First, it had been offered to Rodgers and Hart, and Rodgers and Hart turned it down because Hart felt he was too sophisticated and urbane to write lyrics for people who lived on the prairie. Jerome Kern and Oscar Hammerstein were approached next, and Jerome Kern felt that he was too sophisticated and urbane to write music for people who live on the prairie. And hence, Oklahoma was pushed aside until the two of them, Hammerstein and Rodgers, looked at it and decided what could it be. They then decided that that Hammerstein would write the libretto first, and that the libretto would then dictate where the music came from, so that the songs would be sung as if they were part of what the characters were trying to accomplish. Very groundbreaking in its approach at the time. When it started in Boston, it was called Away We Go, and the name of the play changed to Oklahoma shortly thereafter. And you'll notice Celeste Holm standing the first person on the left, Alfred Drake in the Surrey, of course. But this was an entertainment like no one had ever seen, performed all over the world. And this is at Albert Hall, British Proms in Concert of Oklahoma.
What a beautiful day. I got a beautiful feeling. Everything's going my way.
Say, Curly, better take the wagon down to the trough and give the team some water.
Right away, Neller.
Can I come too? Just love to watch the way you handle horses.
That's about all I can handle, I reckon.
Oh, I can't believe that, Curly. Not from what I heard about you.
Looks like Curly's took up with that Cummins girl. What I care about that?
Oh. Come on, boys. Let's get these hampers out under the trees where it's cool.
I thought Curly was stuck on you. I'd say he ain't stuck on her no more. Why should a woman who is healthy and strong blubber like a baby if her man goes away, weeping and wailing how he's done her wrong? That's one thing you'll never hear me say. Never gonna think that the man I lose is the only man among men. I'll snap my fingers to show I don't care. I'll buy me a brand new dress to wear. I'll scrub my neck and I'll brush my hair and start all over again. Many a new face will please my eye. Many a new to sigh over the romance behind me. Many a new day will dawn before I do. Many a light lad may kiss and fly. A kiss gone by is bygone. Never have I asked an August sky, where has last July gone? Never have I wandered through the rye, wondering where has some guy gone. Many a new day will dawn before I do.
Come on, girls. Many a new face will please my eye. Many a new love will find me. Never have I once looked back to sigh over the romance behind me. Many a new day will dawn before I do.
Never have I chased the honeybee who carelessly cajoled me. Somebody else just as sweet as he cheered me and consoled me. Never have I wept into my tea over the deal someone doled me.
Many a new day will dawn.
Many a red sun will set. Many a blue moon will shine before I do.
See, there are a lot of clues in that song about character. First of all, you wonder, how did Lori end up on this farm with her aunt? And she tells you right there in the song, why would a woman who is healthy and strong blubber like a baby when her man goes away? Obviously, her mother never got over her father just walking out on them, evidently. They end up going to go with her aunt. The mother dies, and she is going to be much stronger than her mother ever was. What we lose track of when we see performances of Oklahoma is how young these people really are. It's a coming of age story. It's not at all older actresses with soprano voices, even as portrayed here. These are kids in their late teen years, very early 20s, if anything. And Curly and Judd Fry. Curly plays terrible mind games on Judd Fry in Poor Judd is Dead. But we all know that Curly and Judd are competitive for Lori, and Lori is tremendously attracted to Judd for some reason she cannot determine. But it's this kind of push and pull that made Oklahoma into the masterpiece. Well, Lilium, a play written by Frederick Molnar, everyone wanted to set it to music. It was the story, a tragic story of a carnival barker and the woman who falls in love with him and the challenges they face because of bad decision making. He goes to heaven and so forth. And Rodgers and Hammerstein get the piece only after Molnar is brought to see Oklahoma. He realizes that they're doing something very different with musical theater, and he wants them to write the musical. It's a very, Richard Rodgers always thought this was his favorite piece of all of the pieces he had written. And it's that way. It's obvious. It's very operatic in its tone. The characters are very well drawn, even though Billy Bigelow is not exactly a sympathetic character. It does give a hopeful ending. And the fact that it was set in New England was a big breakthrough musically because Richard Rodgers was able to pull upon the style of the industrial era New England, pull sailors into the picture, and starting the musical without an overture, starting it with a ballet sequence, the Carousel Waltz, and the soliloquy and the bench scene all make Carousel tremendously unique in the creation of the modern American musical.
If
the mist of day. Never, never to
Why, you can't even count the stars in the sky, and the sky is so big, the sea looks small, and two little people, you and I, we don't count at all.
I can just see myself, kind of scrawny and pale, and picking at my food, and lovesick like any other guy. I'd throw away my sweater and dress up like a dude in a dickie and a collar and a tie. If I loved you.
But you don't.
No, I don't.
But somehow I can see just exactly how I'd be if I loved you. Time and again I would try to say all I'd want you to know. If I loved you, words wouldn't come in an easy way. Round in circles I'd go, longing to tell you, but afraid and shy. I'd let my golden chances pass me by. Soon you'd leave me, off you would go in the mist of day. Never, never to
As the soliloquy prepares to run, let me just tell you one thing about it. I mean, the soliloquy was written because John Raitt was a trained classical opera singer. Nathan Gunn, being an opera singer, took on the piece, and he was considered one of the, people nicknamed him the Barahunk or the hunky tone or whatever, because of his handsome looks and so forth. But the soliloquy in Carousel was very unique. It had never been done in a Broadway musical, where an actor would stand center stage for 8 or 9 minutes and tell the audience what he's thinking, making serious life decisions that would impact the future for not only himself but his family. It's truly a very difficult piece because of the stamina that it takes to really bring it forward. And this is an excellent rendition of it, one to really enjoy.
I wonder what he'll think of me. I guess he'll call me the old man. I guess he'll think I can lick every other fella's father. Well, I can. I bet that he'll turn out to be the spitting image of his dad, but he'll have more common sense than his puddin'-headed father ever had. I'll teach him to wrestle and dive through a wave when we go in the morning for a swim. His mother can teach him the way to behave, but she won't make a sissy out of him. Not him, not my boy, not Bill. My boy Bill, I will see that he's named after me. I will. My boy Bill, he'll be tall and as tough as a tree. Bill, like a tree, he'll grow with his head held high and his feet planted firm on the ground. And you won't see nobody dare to try to boss him or toss him around. No pot-belly, baggy-eyed bully will boss him around. And I don't give a damn what he does, as long as he does what he likes. He can sit on his tail or work on a rail with a hammer and spikes. He can ferry a boat down the river, or pedal a pack on his back, or work up and down the streets of a town with a whip and a horse and a hack. He can haul a scow along a canal, run a cow around a corral, or maybe bark for a carousel. Of course it takes talent to do that well. He might be a champ of the heavyweights, or a fella that sells you glue, or president of the United States. That'd be all right too. His mother liked that, but he wouldn't be president unless he wanted to be. Not Bill. My boy Bill, he'll be tall and as tough as a tree. Will Bill, like a tree, he'll grow with his head held high and his feet planted firm on the ground. And you won't see nobody dare to try to boss him or toss him around. No flat-bottom, flabby-faced, pot-belly, baggy-eyed bastard'll boss him around. And I'm damned if I'll marry his boss's daughter, a skinny-lipped virgin with blood like water. He'll give him a peck and call it a kiss, and look in his eyes through a lorgnette. Say, why am I carrying on like this? My kid ain't even been born yet. I can see him when he's 17 or so, and starting to go with a girl. I can give him lots of pointers very sound on the way to get round any girl. I can tell him, wait a minute, could it be? What the hell? What if he is a girl? Bill? Oh, Bill. What would I do with her? What could I do for her? Bum, with no money. You can have fun with the sun, but you gotta be a father to a girl. She mightn't be so bad at that. A kid with ribbons in her hair, a kind of neat and petite little tin type of her mother. What a pair! My little girl, pink and white as peaches and cream is she. My little girl is half again as bright as girls are meant to be. Dozens of boys pursue her, many a likely lad does what he can to woo her from her faithful dad. She has a few pink and white young fellas of 2 and 3, but my little girl gets hungry every night, and she comes home to me. My little girl, I gotta get ready before she comes. I gotta make certain that she won't be dragged up in slums with a lot of bums like me. She's gotta be sheltered and fed and dressed in the best that money can buy. I never knew how to get money, but I'll try. My God, I'll try. Or steal it, or take it, or die.
Again, it was groundbreaking to end an act with someone singing like that for 8 minutes. It was truly a groundbreaking experience in musical theater history. Well, Mary Martin had always wanted to come back to Broadway after South Pacific, and the idea of doing Peter Pan challenged her because she remembered the image of Eva Le Gallienne, who had been playing Peter Pan for a very long time. And the idea of turning it into a musical certainly captured her imagination. It was going to tour the United States, open on Broadway, and then in partnership with Paramount be filmed. But Mary Martin's husband, fully aware that Mary would never be chosen for the film, makes a deal with NBC, and the play is then a short stay on Broadway with the firm intent of going on to television. It was filmed actually 3 times. The first time in 1956 in black and white. 1 year later, no videotape. 1 year later in color, no videotape. And then finally again filmed with videotape in 1960. That version was Mary Martin's dream that it would go once a year, just like The Wizard of Oz was at the time, be a big family event. But because of the shenanigans of Mary Martin's husband, was only shown 2 more times, once in 1964 and once in 1965. It's Jerome Robbins who taught Mary Martin how to fly, and these are a couple of scenes that show you how really terrific it was coming to life in those early years of television.
Can you really fly?
I'll teach you. How lovely to fly.
I'll teach you how to jump on the wind's back, and away we'll go.
Ooh.
One day when you're sleeping in your silly bed, you might be flying about with me.
And here we have the Ugga Wugga Ballet from that Jerome Robbins choreographed with the Indians. It's true fantasy at its best, and certainly one of the great moments from the Peter Pan television series filmed in 1960.
Making too much noise.
Listen to Tiger Lily. When on warpath. Ugga Wugga Wigwam. Ugga Wugga Wigwam.
At last I've reached me peak. I'm the greatest villain of all time. Who was Bluebeard? No. Who was Nero? No. Who was Jack the Ripper? No. Who's the swiniest swine in the world? Captain Hook! Captain Hook! Who's the dirtiest dog in this wonderful world? Captain Hook! Captain Hook! Captain of villainy, murder and loot. Eager to kill any who says that his hook isn't cute. It's cute! Who's the slimiest rat in the pack? Captain Hook! Captain Hook! Who's unlovable? Who's unlivable? Whose behavior is quite unforgivable? Who would stoop to the lowest and meanest of tricks in the book? Tricks in the book! Slimy, slimy Captain Hook!
lonely, yet better for hope to have had less ambition. O fame, fame, thou glittering bauble, in searching for thee, what fame have I not lost? No little children love me. I'm told they play at Peter Pan, and the strongest always chooses to be Peter. They force the baby to be Hook. The baby. That's where the canker gnaws. I'm told they find me lovable. How can I break it to him that they find him lovable?
No! By carbonate of soda, no! Not even...
Smee. All in one piece?
Hey! Who's the swiniest? Hey! The doggiest? The slimiest? Hey!
Who's the creepiest creep in the world?
Captain Hook! Captain Hook!
Who's dispensable, reprehensible, whose behavior is quite indefensible, who's the crawlingest, cruelest, crumbiest, crookedest crook.
Crookedest crook! What a prize! What a joy!
Mrs. Hook's little baby boy.
The surge of the sea!
Just lil old me.
Well, Pygmalion and My Fair Lady came next. No one really thought that Pygmalion could be musicalized, and the fact that Rodgers and Hammerstein tried it and couldn't figure it out, it then went to MGM Studios, who were really convinced that they were going to make My Fair Lady, or make a musical out of Pygmalion, I should say. And when it was filmed by the studios in 1937, they changed the ending where Eliza comes back. And Shaw never felt that Eliza needed him at all, that this was a story of women's rights during the suffragette era. And certainly, once she gets her confidence and sees where her future can go, he realized that she didn't need Higgins at all. But the Hollywood touch wouldn't make that acceptable. Well, Lerner and Lowe, hearing about the fact that Pygmalion was up for grabs, they wrote on spec, hoping that it would actually reach the Broadway stage with them. And they went back to that 1937 movie and looked at the things that are spoken of offstage that are not seen on stage in the movie. And then they decided to craft a musical around that. Moss Hart, who was the director, they cast Julie Andrews, a young 21-year-old ingenue, against Rex Harrison, who was not anybody's first choice. They really wanted Peter Sellers, then they went to Noel Coward, and they went down a list of all kinds of actors. And Rex Harrison surfaced, but he even fought the fact that he was not going to compromise himself and lower himself to sing on Broadway. So it took an awful lot of convincing. But we all know the masterpiece that My Fair Lady became. And My Fair Lady, although it seemed to be undoable, became one of the great masterpieces of the American musical theater as written in the 1960s.
Andrews, and I remember this day. In preparation for the role of Eliza Doolittle in My Fair Lady, I, an English girl, had to study with Alfred Dixon, a New Yorker, to learn a Cockney accent.
I-E-I-L-U.
All right.
Yes. Oh, we are proud. Did you tell him I come in a taxi?
Julie, you're not giving it to me broad enough yet.
Oh.
All right, try it again.
Oh, we are proud. Did you tell him I come in a taxi? No, that's not right.
No, you're not giving me enough of the pitch arc. You see, melody is the soul of a dialect accent. You're not giving me enough of the Cockney melody. Listen.
Oh, we are proud. Did you tell him I come in a taxi?
No, that's better. That's better. Now, let's take the line where Higgins gives her the chocolate.
Yes. I wouldn't have ate it, only I'm too ladylike to take it out of your mouth.
That's pretty good. Now let's try it with the chocolate.
I wouldn't have ate it, only I'm too ladylike to take it out of your mouth.
I can't understand you now. You're mumbling.
There's in my mouth.
Now, let's try it again.
Wow.
now.
What's the matter now?
Honestly, this accent, you know, one of these days I'm going to wake up and not be able to speak any differently. Wouldn't that be funny? Can you imagine me saying to my mother, "Hello, Ducks, how's me dear old mum today?" She wouldn't know who it was.
Yes, she would. Because you said how with an H.
Oh, Alfred.
I said no H's. Ow, 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 ow. No
Ow.
H's. However, let's not be too discouraged. Now, let's take Just You White. Henry Higgins, Just You White.
Just you white, Henry Higgins, just you white.
A becomes an I.
I'm sorry. Just you white, Henry Higgins, just you white.
And now the rasp. You're a gutter snipe, the
Just
rasp.
you white, Henry Higgins, just you white.
And now the fury.
Yeah,
You hate him.
White Henry Higgins.
He's a
just-
bully.
Yes,
He's kept you up all night.
Just you white, Henry Higgins.
Bread and water.
All right. Just you white, Henry Higgins, just you white.
Good. Now.
You'll be sorry, but your tears will be too light. You'll be broken on and money. Will I help you? Don't be funny. Just you white, Henry Higgins, just you white. Just you white, Henry Higgins, till you're sick. And you scream to fetch a doctor double quick. I'll be off a second later and go straight to the theatre. Oh, Henry Higgins, just you white. Oh, Henry Higgins, just you white until we're swimming in the sea. Oh, Henry Higgins, and you'll get a crab a little way from me. When you yell you're going to drown, I'll get dressed and go to town. Oh, 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 Henry Higgins, oh, 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 Henry Higgins, just you white. One day I'll be famous, I'll be proper and prim. Go to St. James so often I will call it St. Jim. One evening the king will say, "Oh, Liza, old thing, I want all of England your praises to sing." Next week on the 20th of May, I proclaim Liza Doolittle Day. All the people will celebrate the glory of you, and whatever you wish and want, I gladly will do. Thanks a lot, King, says I in a manner well read, but all I want is Henry Higgins' head. Done, says the king with a stroke. God, run and ring in the cloak, and then they'll march Henry Higgins to the wall, and the king will tell me Liza found the ball. As they lift their rifles higher, I'll shout, "Ready, aim, fire!" Oh, ho, ho, Henry Higgins, and down you'll go, Henry Higgins, just you white.
Okay, Harrison, we're ready for you.
Remember this day? I'll never forget it. I've never even sung with an orchestra before. I'm an actor. Look at them. 31 musicians waiting to accompany me. They'll hate me. They're the enemy, that's what they are. But they mustn't know that. They mustn't know that I'm frightened.
I'm just coming, France. Oh, that was wonderful. You really absolutely perfect. Got the accent wonderfully.
Oh, thank you. What about the orchestra? Aren't they marvelous?
Are they?
Oh, yes, it's like, well, singing on a feather bed compared to that rehearsal piano.
Oh, Lord.
You're going to be marvelous.
Thank you.
I'm going out front to watch, my love.
Aye.
See you.
Oh.
This is our star, Rex Harrison.
I'm delighted to see you, gentlemen. I think if we're patient with each other, we'll be able to solve your problems. I'm rather a slow study, and I've had to train myself to be patient. And I just hope that my patience doesn't bore you.
Would you like to do it once with piano, Rex?
No, not in the least.
I thought you might be nervous.
Oh, no, not at all.
Shall we go?
By all means.
On the top.
I've grown accustomed to her face. She almost makes the... excuse me, what are you playing down there? That doesn't sound like accustomed to your face.
No, it isn't. I'm an ordinary man.
Oh. Oh, all right, well, begin again.
From the top?
From the what?
From the beginning.
From the beginning. I'm an ordinary man who desires nothing more than just an ordinary chance to live exactly as he likes and do precisely what he wants. Can you hear me?
Yes.
What?
Yes, I can hear you, Rex.
Well, I can't hear you. How can you hear me? Excuse me. You don't seem to be blowing in this number. Would you mind just running to the back of the theater and seeing if you can hear me?
I play in a minute, Mr. Harrison.
You do? Ye gods.
From an average man am I.
An average man am I, of no eccentric will, who likes to live his life free of strife, doing whatever he thinks is best for him. Well, just an ordinary man. But let a woman in your life. Stop, 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 stop! Take it out, I demand that be taken out.
Take out what?
That's ya-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. It's so loud. How do I know where to sing?
You'll get used to it, Rex.
I will never get used to it. It's absolutely ridiculous for a man to be standing up here saying his lines with a symphony orchestra blasting away down there.
What would you like to do, Rex?
I'd like to do it as a straight play. That's what I'd like to do.
Shall we go on?
Oh, yes, 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 go on. But there's a woman in your life, and you're up against a wall. Make a plan and you will find she has something else in mind. And so rather than do either, you do something else that neither likes at all. Franz, excuse me, I'm sorry, Franz, excuse me. Do you think there might be a laugh there?
There will be, Rex.
Well then, if there is, would you mind you and your chaps just waiting a minute?
Oh, we couldn't do that, Rex.
Why not? Make a plan and you will find she has something else in mind. And so rather than do either, you do something else that neither likes at all. Well, it's vaguely funny, isn't it?
It is, Rex. But once the music begins, it continues through to the end.
But that's absurd. Supposing the audience laughs and they miss the next line.
Rex, in the musical, the audience knows not to laugh into the next line.
You see, I don't believe you. Where did they learn that?
They just know. Let's take it from, they want to talk of Keats and Milton.
You want to talk of Keats or Milton. She only wants to talk of love. You go to see a play or ballet and spend it searching for her glove. Oh, let a woman in your life and you invite eternal strife and defy their wedding bands with the dances in their hands. I'd be equally as... What's happened? I thought I was doing beautifully.
You got ahead of us, Rex. We cannot play that fast.
Well, take out some notes. There's far too much going on down there. I can't hear myself think on this stage. Aren't you supposed to be following me? I'm not supposed to be following you.
Let's go through with it once, Rex.
No, I'm sorry. We'll have to come to some understanding about this, you know, otherwise the curtain will not go up tomorrow night.
Let's go on to the next section.
I sing this song on a balcony 4 miles from the orchestra pit, and when I'm up here all alone, I want to know that you're following me.
Shall we go on?
Yes, go on.
From the top of the next section?
From the top, from the top, from the top. I'm a very gentle man, even-tempered and good-natured, whom you never hear complain, who has the milk of human kindness by the quart in every vein, a patient man am I, down to my fingertips, the sort who never could, ever would, let an insulting remark escape his lips. Just a very gentle man. But let a woman in your life, and Patience hasn't got a chance. She will beg you for advice, your reply will be concise, and she'll listen very nicely, then go out and do precisely what she wants. You are a man of grace and polish, who never spoke above a hush. Now all at once you're using language that would make a sailor blush. Get a woman in your life, and you're plunging in a knife. Let the others of my sex tie the knot around their necks. I prefer a new edition of the Spanish Inquisition than ever let a woman in my life.
living man who prefers to spend the evenings in the silence of his room, who likes an atmosphere as restful as an undiscovered tomb, a pensive man, a philosophic joys, who likes to meditate, contemplate, free from humanity's mad inhuman noise. Just a quiet living man. Let a woman in your life, and your sabbatical is through. In a line that never ends, come an army of her friends, come to jabber and to chatter and to tell her what the matter is with you. She'll have a booming, boisterous family who will descend on you en masse. She'll have a large Wagnerian mother, oh, with a voice that shatters glass. Let a woman in your life, let a woman in your life. I shall never let a woman in my life.
So, of course, My Fair Lady went on to become the longest running musical ever up until its point in time, and the original cast recording was the largest selling record ever. In fact, that original cast recording, the rights that CBS Masterworks bought for $350,000, paid for the entire production cost of My Fair Lady. And that's really, quite an amazing number at the time.
We know you all recall the recent evening when Rex Harrison and Julie Andrews came to New York in a tremendous musical called My Fair Lady. Here is Julie Andrews.
I could have danced all night, I could have danced all night, and still have begged for more. I could have spread my wings and done 1,000 things I've never done before. I'll never know what made it so exciting. Why all at once my heart took flight. I only know when he began to dance with me, I could have danced, danced, danced all night. I could have danced all night, I could have danced all night, and still have begged for more. I could have spread my wings and done 1,000 things I've never done before. I'll never know what made it so exciting. Why all at once my heart took flight. I only know when he began to dance with me, I could have danced, danced, danced.
Well, another musical that was based upon a play was the play Anna Christie. Uh, Whoever would have thought Eugene O'Neill would make a musical, for God's sakes? And it certainly was an odd choice. It was supposed to actually be a musical starring Marilyn Monroe, but she got cast in Bus Stop, and at the same time, they thought perhaps she never would show up and she'd be too risky. So Gwen Verdon steps in and does do this with her husband then, or her soon-to-be husband, Bob Fosse. New Girl in Town ended a relationship with Fosse and Hal Prince because they fought over the censorship of the ballets that Hal Prince thought were way too vivid in their portrayal. But another Eugene O'Neill play came along starring Jackie Gleason called Take Me Along, based upon the Wilderness, the only comedy that Eugene O'Neill ever wrote. It's never really been seen since, but this song became the poster.
Take me along.
If you love for me.
Take me along.
If you love for me.
Take me along with you.
I love you, baby dear, and you know I always will.
My heart will ride high and glorious, far above the throng,
if you will take me
along with you.
Take me along. If you love for me,
Take me along.
If you love for me,
Take me along with
I love you, little beauty, but the Navy is my duty.
my lips will sing
Something jubilant, sweet and clear and strong.
if you will take me along with you.
Take me
Along,
if you love for me.
take me along,
If you love for me,
take me along with you.
you're sweeter than vanilla. Wanna hug you like my pillow. My lips will sing something jubilant, sweet and clear and strong.
If you will take me along with you.
Well, that was Take Me Along. I hope you all enjoyed this section of musicals that were based upon plays, and I look forward to seeing you all next Friday. Take care now. Bye.